So the goal of my project was to develop a digital platform for training high-performance spatiomotor capability in the blind and visually impaired. I conducted my research at Smith Kettlewell Eye Research Institute with my mentor, Dr. Laura Lakova, who's here today, who's a leading neuroscientist who specializes in neurorehabilitation for the blind. So essentially, my project harnesses the power of drawing to drive brain plasticity. I've developed an audio-haptic platform of scientifically proven cognitive kinesthetic method. By tracing, remembering, and then drawing images, blind and visually impaired people are able to develop memory-hand coordination that helps them in all aspects of their regular lives. All right, so what happens in the brain when you draw? These are pictures of the brain in a functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI scan, and show the right and left brain hemispheres. As you see, when somebody is scribbling, only basic motor and somatosensory regions are triggered. However, when people are drawing from memory, the brain activity proceeds to higher levels of cognitive functioning, and a lot more of the brain is activated. So what is this cognitive kinesthetic drawing training? So these representations are tactile representations that we use in the cognitive kinesthetic method. These are raised images that you can trace with your finger. There's two phases. First, you close your eyes and you have to trace these images and learn the shape. Then you draw the images separately, also with your eyes closed, or as a blind person would, since they don't have sight. I'll be passing these around.
Can I suggest, before Dr. can I suggest that you close your eyes to whoever you present the image, and let's see if the person, what hypothesis would the person do? Would they be able to recognize it quickly?
Okay.
A volunteer for closed eyes? Divija, here.
Okay.
Close your eyes before one of the men with the glasses. Oh.
Especially this one, yeah. Who is the one?
The gentleman.
So please close your eye, and now I'm giving you what the image is. You have to start from somewhere, maybe like this is the top. Okay. So now you have to feel it. This is the top. Let me show you the top.
No, actually he's trying to get you to the starting point.
I'm trying to simulate this too.
Okay,
If I
okay.
got this without his
Okay.
help,
Okay.
how would I know where to start?
It's on the iPad.
Okay.
Am I at the top?
Yeah.
Yes. You can see how difficult this process would be if you had never seen the picture before. To learn the image by tracing it and to remember it, and then to be able to
Impossible.
draw this again. And not only to be able to create a mental picture of the image, but to be able to guide your hand using that mental image.
Any hypothesis? What,
Feels like a cat of some sort.
like a cat?
That was pretty close. We continue passing the images around
you were close.
so you can get a feel. This is a blind participant in the fMRI machine with the compatible drawing things that Dr. Laura Lakova developed in her lab, doing the same process we just saw happen. And after only a week of this cognitive kinesthetic training, in which they traced and drew and went through this process, individuals who were completely blind for birth, who had possibly never even held a pencil before, were able to draw objects and even faces from memory in just 20 seconds. These are some of the images they rendered. As you can see, these aren't cliche images. These people have features, distinguished traits that you can see. And the comments of the blind subjects were that this is going to change my life. And if I can still learn at this age, I'm good for life. And many of these people were not children who tend to learn faster, but elder people who have been blind their entire lives.
All of them were adults.
So this is brain imaging after after the training process. So there was an fMRI taken immediately after training to see how this training process changed their brain, and also 2 months after training. In this 2-month period, they didn't undergo any training to see if this process created lasting impacts on their brain. So the brain before training. The green outline is the visual cortex, and as you can see, there's almost no significant activation in the primary visual cortex of the blind before training. And the pictures they've drawn are not very recognizable. However, after the training, there's dramatic brain plasticity in the visual cortex, and the drawings they've drawn are extremely recognizable and good. And in order for this to happen, they must have formed permanent, extremely detailed mental images, mental pictures of these images. They must also have developed their spatiomotor skills significantly to be able to render them this well in such a short amount of time. So now to my application. So the first phase, which is image exploration, is presented like this. So when you click on the image, it guides you to the orange starting point. Right. And then when you touch the dot, the sound begins. So this is a cruder version of the original app. The more advanced version is in my laptop and hasn't yet been transferred. But as you follow the line, it makes a noise. And when you go off the line, it stops making the noise. And you can follow the line of the image. So originally, I wasn't sure how well this would work because it is far harder to trace by listening rather than tactile. Would you like to try? Just close your eyes. So you can see how this would be very difficult if you've never seen the image before. And also, it's not only being able to follow the line, but to remember what your finger did. And you're going off so many times that sometimes it's very difficult to conceptualize what exactly you've done. So these are the explorations of the first subject. So my app records the explorations for the purpose of analysis. As you can see in the very first exploration, to the top left, they went off the image several times and found it very, very difficult to stay on the line. However, in the last image, they're almost completely on the line, and they're tracing it without going off almost at all, showing how well they were able to see this image as they go through. And these are their drawings. In the first one, it's hardly recognizable. They see, well, there's this bump that comes out, and it's like kind of circular. But in the last image, they have the eye, the nose, and then the mouth as well. Shows that despite how difficult it seems, through this process, they're able to develop their brain plasticity extremely well. Also, the way it works is that once you explore and you draw, and then you get to explore your own image in my application, which is one enhancement of the cognitive kinesthetic method. By exploring your own image, you're able to see, well, where did I go wrong? Or what parts of the image did I not capture properly? What doesn't feel right? And then they're able to trace the original image again. So they did this in just one sitting, maybe an hour and a half per person, and they did this 6 times, and this was a dramatic improvement they were able to have. And this was all blindfolded. They'd never seen the image before. The second person had a little bit more trouble tracing the image. And these are his drawings. If you rotate these drawings, they look more like the original, showing that the picture of the image in his mind was rotated in space. Can you go back there? No, the tracing that he did. This is the third participant who was exceptional in his rendering. You can see in the first one, he had a lot of trouble staying on the line, swirled around a lot, went off. But in the last exploration, it's almost precise. And if you see to recognize it was a face, and just the first try, he knew it was a face. And by the last one, it looks almost identical to the original, which is again proof of how effective this method is in developing spatiomotor skills. So I recorded and graphed the exploration times of the participants. Originally, the times are extremely high. The green one, which is lower at first, it's because the participant didn't finish exploring, but they're extremely high as they attempt to figure out where their finger is and how to follow the line. But there's a definite downward trend as towards the end they follow it almost exactly with almost no deviation. The drawing durations also show a general downward trend. It starts out very low because in the beginning, the participants have almost no image inside their mind. They've just barely traced it. They don't really know what they're doing or where their finger is going. So it's very low. They just basically draw a vague shape. And then the timing goes up as they start to see, okay, so conceptualize these details. This is what my finger did. This is what the image looks like inside my mind. And finally it goes down again as they become more familiar with these details. After talking to the participants, some of them said that they went simply by the memory of how their hand moved, and some of them said that their brain itself had an image inside of what they were trying to draw. And these results varied, which is something that can be an interesting analysis. So after these drawings were done, so we showed these drawings to experts who then rated them using the Likert scale. If the drawing got a 1, it meant it was unrecognizable. If it got a 2, it was barely recognizable. 3 meant it was starting to show some vague features of the original image. And 4 means that some of the features were definitely recognizable. 5 meant that all the main features were there. 6 meant that they were beginning to capture details, and 7 meant that it was almost like the original. As you can see, there's an upward trend as the participants become better familiar with the drawings, and as they improve over the process, their drawings get significantly better. In conclusion, brain imaging studies have shown that the cognitive kinesthetic training developed by Dr. Likova dramatically enhances brain plasticity, spatial memory, spatiomotor and spatiomotor abilities, all of which are extremely important to the blind and visually impaired and affect them in every aspect of their daily life. In fact, participants who have gone through this training have shown that they learn faster in other aspects of their life too, as their brains stretched and adapted to this new method. I've developed a freely available iPad application that implements this training. Method is a flexible, interactive system where they can see their own feedback and trace their own drawings through an audio haptic platform. My application is the first ever to use sound-based representations of drawing. Data collected through the testing of this app proves that audio haptic image exploration is possible, and trends which you've seen in the progression of the quality of the drawings suggest that the effectiveness of this in driving brain plasticity parallels that of the cognitive kinesthetic method. Overall, it's successful in accomplishing the goal of encapsulating and enhancing the cognitive kinesthetic process, and further tests below optimization of relevant aspects of the system. The application is also widely accessible and user-friendly. It's digital, so it's extremely fast, and as you've seen, it does not require Wi-Fi to operate, and it can be downloaded from any iOS device, which means people from around the world who don't have access to the same tactile mediums can also use this process and find out how long they took and how well they've drawn and explore their own images. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Now we'll be taking questions. Yes.
Did you see improvement as you moved when the participant used the method first to maybe over time, did their ability improve over time?
Yes, significantly. At first, they weren't very familiar with how to draw, and they had trouble staying on the line, as Mackenzie showed. And toward the end, they were able to follow the line almost exactly.
And did you try with other images, or did you just do it with one image?
Well, one of them did it with another image as well. And while the process starts over in the sense that they haven't explored, they haven't seen the image yet, they react, get better faster. The improvement is,
Increase a lot faster.
yeah, because now not only have they understood how to like associate this audio with an image inside their mind, but they also are better at remembering and then connecting this memory to their drawing. Yes.
Very fascinating.
What did you use to outline that thing, that paper?
Well, that uses a special printer that prints it raised. Dr. Likova, do you want to explain?
I actually would like to follow up on your question. Yes, so with the classical one, the tactile one, I did with a whole battery of different stimuli. So you saw some of the faces. So the blind people were coming even to the level to draw. There is portrait of Stravinsky by Picasso. And we had Washington, I think Divija showed one of the images. If you go to the slide with the 3 images, so this one. And so this only, so we say 1 week, but it is 2 hours a day only. So important to your question is that you are asking, is there generalization of this knowledge? Or and it is. So they work with different images, complex images, but moreover I ran 3 hours batteries, a standardized battery on spatial cognition, especially for blind and low vision. And so this has nothing to do with the drawing, but it's showing, because drawing, to be able to draw, as Divija emphasized, if you don't create this clear, robust, detailed memory representation, and if you don't learn how to, instead of eye-hand coordination, what all of us do, learn to use this memory representation to guide your hand, you would not be able to create what she showed you. So this means that drawing is one task, but actually you're practicing many fundamental tasks. And with these externals, with standardized spatial cognition batteries before and after the training, I have shown that it affects, it generalizes, it transfers to general spatial motor abilities correlated with this brain plasticity. So it's really fascinating that Divija is bringing this now to another level.
Great work.
That was very
Thank
good
you
work.
so
Very
much.
good.
Sorry?
What do you